Hey, this is Pimp from solomid.net with an Urgot tutorial. Overall, I think Urgot is a pretty underrated champion. He has a very strong harass with his Acid Hunter and Corrosive Charge, with a great chase and ability to pick off stragglers. I've tried all the builds with him and feel that ranged DPS is the way to go. Urgot is an early mid-gamer that requires a strong early game to propel him into late game. As such, I build him to strengthen his early game. Urgot is great for shutting down carries, and I see him being drafted for that reason. I pick him just because he's really fun to play. I really love the synergy on Urgot's skills. They work great together and prove very deadly when you use the right combo. They also happen to be very mana efficient. Urgot's Q is Acid Hunter, a skill shot that flies to the cursor, similar to Karthus Lay Waste, but is overall more similar to Ezreal's Mystic Shot. If you hit a target with his Noxian Corrosive Charge, it provides a lock-on that gives a massive range bonus and will fly over other units. It has a low cooldown at just under 2 seconds with some cooldown reduction. It's also a great farming tool. Urgot's W is Terror Capacitor. Urgot gains a shield that absorbs damage. While active, it adds a slow to his auto attacks and Acid Hunter. This skill is essential for ganking and chasing. Urgot's E is Noxian Corrosive Charge. Urgot lobs a grenade to a target area to do an AoE damage over time, armor debuff, and provides a lock-on for Acid Hunter. Once a target has been locked, you can fire 3 Acid Hunters before the debuff wears off. This skill can also be used for farming. Urgot's R is Hyperkinetic Position Reverser. It's a very situational ultimate that stuns the target for 1 second, swaps locations with them, and slows them for 3 seconds. While channeling his ultimate from the beginning, he gains a large amount of armor and magic resistance for 5 seconds. With a build geared towards damage and not survivability, can be dangerous to swap if you don't think about the outcome. It's very versatile in that it can be used for initiation, escape, and allies escape, kiting, stopping runners, and gaining the additional armor and magic resistance to gain an advantage in a fight. If I have a 1v1 lane, either solo mid or 1v1 top, I grab 1 level in E for some early harass and max Q as soon as possible. Next, at level 4, I gain a level in W, I grab R at every available level and max E afterwards. The reason I get E at level 1 as opposed to Q is that it is a much more consistent harass than Q. If I have a 1v2 lane, I prefer to max Corrosive Charge over Acid Hunter in order to prevent a lot of pressure on my tower. Also at low levels it will kill ranged minions and soften up melee minions for last hits. For masteries, I have a fairly standard 2109 build, grabbing all the damage masteries for the highest damage output. For runes, I get Armor Pen Marks, Mana Regen per level seals, flat cooldown reduction glyphs. These can be swapped for mana regen per level, but I don't think it's necessary as Urgot's abilities are low mana cost anyway, and he only has slight mana problems for the first few levels. If you do swap these out, I suggest you add the points to cooldown reduction in the offensive mastery tree. I also grab Flat Health Quints. These can be swapped for Armor Pen if you prefer a more glass cannon build. For summoner spells I get Flash and Ghost, and there should be pretty much no exception to this because Urgot has no dedicated escape mechanism and requires these to live. They also have the added feature of adding immensely to his chasing ability. As a bonus, Flash allows for a Flash ulti combo that can be very devastating, and you'll see me use it many times throughout this video. For an item starter set, I grab Dorn's Ring and a health potion. You'll be harassing a lot, so the extra mana regen comes in very handy. Also grab a health potion if you get harassed back or take a little too much love from the creeps. When I get sent back to town, I grab boots and start on my brutalizer. Also grab some health potions and wards if you find them useful. Next, I'll finish my brutalizer. It's a fairly common item to augment Urgot's already strong early game. Next, I'll grab Mercury Treads in almost every situation. CC is absolutely devastating to Urgot as he has no dedicated escape mechanism. After that, I'll build a Sheen and go for a Trinity Force. Again, this augments his early and mid game. You can pick either Phage or Zeals after the Sheen. Each has their own strength. Phage for the occasional slow and health, and Zeal for the run speed and DPS. I used to start to build strong endgame items here instead, that is Black Cleavers or Bloodthirsters. but I found that he had a rough transitional period that other heroes such as Ezreal don't suffer from. I would really like to see Acid Hunter benefit from on-hit effects to make this a real no-brainer item. To round out Urgot's core items, I grab a Bloodthirster for its great damage and lifesteal. Those 4 items are almost always core. After those items you can try Sword of the Occult, since securing kills early game is easy enough to get some stacks. I would suggest getting it after the Brutalizer or Sheen. Last Whisper for the 40% armor pen and attack speed. Black Cleaver or Blood Razor if your team is having problems dealing with tanks. Upgrading your Brutalizer into a Ghostblade for that 4-second activatable. Stark's Fervor to augment all DPS on your team and have extra lasting power on pushes, or a Banshee's Veil to counter a lot of disables. In a 1v1 lane, hit a Corrosive Charge off the bat and get a hit or 2 to establish dominance, all while concentrating on last hits. When you hit level 2, shift directly to Harassment when Corrosive Charge is off cooldown. Land the charge and proceed to get your 3 Acid Hunters off. Remember to position your cursor directly on top of the player to land the Acid Hunters. If you don't position it very precisely, occasionally the Acid Hunters will lock onto creeps or not lock on at all. You'll see throughout this video that for this reason, I'll hold down the spacebar so I can accurately nail Acid Hunters in all situations. After this wave of harassment, the opponent should be about half health and force into using a health potion. Again, hit them with a wave of harassment. Now they should be half health with no health potion. This is when you can really zone your opponent out, as they know that one more round of Acid Hunters will finish them off. At this point you should be ready to capitalize on one of their mistakes with another set of Acid Hunters in conjunction with a Flash and Ghost, if you are sure you can secure a kill. At this point, remember you can use a Terra Capacitor to add slow to your Acid Hunters. If you force them out of the lane or kill them at this point, you have successfully laned with Urgot. It will be very difficult for them to regain any hold on the lane unless they send a gank, so obviously be careful of that. In a 1v2 lane, it will be much harder to harass, so I like to focus on last hits as much as possible. Just keep lobbing grenades on the creep waves to soften them up for last hits, and also so you don't get your tower pushed early. If the enemy players are near the creeps when your corrosive charges go off, great, easy harassment. But if not, don't worry about the harass too much. Urgot is very reliant on the gank for his lane to get any freedom, so you should be urging your jungler into ganking your lane. After the gank, you have dominance in the lane that will be difficult for them to get back, but don't get overzealous. 2v1 is obviously an advantage, and a disable or two can ruin your day, especially if you use both Flash and Ghost to complete your gank. A 2v2 lane isn't ideal, as it denies Urgot from the experience and gold he'll need for any chance at an endgame. The lane should be very easy with a competent lane partner, and you should be able to deny your opponents without many problems. Kills are also pretty easy in this lane. Now you have a little freedom to do what you want. You can jungle buffs at about 9 with a Brutalizer, and you can start ganking lanes, which I will show you how to do. When I start a gank, I'll begin in one of two ways. If I come from the direction of the enemy's escape, I'll start by hitting with a corrosive charge, throwing up a shield, and going to work with acid hunters. I'll save my ultimate until they inevitably have to run through me to escape. I'll then use my ultimate to swap and secure the kill. The other way I'll initiate in a gank is if I'm coming in the direction opposite of the direction of escape. I'll immediately initiate with a swap for my team to focus down the target. In this clip I use a flash swap, so this Karthus doesn't know what the hell hit him. Then I start my combo, grenade, shield, acid hunters, switching from the most easily killed targets to the next, and pick up a quadra kill. By mid-game you should have at least a Sheen and maybe a Triforce. When you get the opportunity to push a tower, make sure you're spamming your abilities to get the procs to kill the tower faster. That is, of course, if you have the mana. I go for an easy tower dive on Kayle as her tower is going down, but it turns out to be anything but that. I swap her into my team as Galio ports in. He just misses me with his ultimate and quickly kills Olaf. I position myself to pick him off. I get into very close range as I know all of his spells are on cooldown, so I can get better position on Kayle. Galio gets killed shortly, and I slow Kayle with the red buff. A Noxian charge and 2 acid hunters later, Kayle gets picked off. I'm initiated on by Ez and Udyr, and am forced to flash over the wall. I use Terror Capacitor and Acid Hunters to keep Udyr at an arm's length while planning my escape. Ezreal shows up again, and I head into the brush. My only chance is a successful juke, and I head down for some help from Amumu. I position myself just close enough to maintain DPS on Udyr while slowing to make an escape impossible. Ez runs out of mana and is in a dire position, as it is only a matter of time before a Noxian charge and Acid Hunters finish him off. Urgot's ultimate can be used to bait enemies into an easy tower kill. Against most other heroes, Warwick would have been able to get an easy tower dive here, but I wait until he runs, then swap him for the tower to own. I chose this clip as I want to highlight the utility of Corrosive Charge being able to apply its debuff in Brush. I'm also able to get an Acid Hunter off while I have no sight on Malphite. I swap him for my team and finish him off. After a team fight goes sour, TF ports between me and Home Sweet Home. I quickly swap him and flash to GTFO. As I've said before, Urgot is great for taking out DPS. I sneak up behind the other team and quickly focus down Ezreal. Annie joins the party late, and I initiate on her to keep her from AoEing down my team. I switch to Amumu instead of the other team's remaining DPS to ace their team. I'm also assuming my team can take a 3v2. Urgot's ultimate can be really great for saving your teammates. I wait until the last second to swap the enemy Warwick away from my Warwick to deny him the kill. I stay on the outskirts of this fight as I don't want to get caught by Mummy's ultimate. When Pantheon gets in range, I hit him with a grenade and start hitting him with Acid Hunters. When Mummy blows his ult, I swap Warwick to enable my Warwick to get the kill on Ezreal without popping his Guardian Angel. I jump on him, and when he goes down, I immediately chase after Annie, leaving my team to work on Amumu. I land a charge and begin to slow her with enhanced Acid Hunters to secure the kill. In this team fight, I run in to take out the enemy Annie who is out of position. I then switch to the next highest priority, Ezreal, and start channeling my ultimate. It gets interrupted by Amumu's ultimate, and Ezreal is able to arcane shift over the wall. We quickly DPS down Pantheon, and I position myself away from the fight to kite the remaining enemies. I choose Mummy over Warwick because they're about as tanky, and he doesn't have a Guardian Angel. I bait the two enemy chasers into my teammates in the brush. When they engage, I hit as many as I can with a Corrosive Charge. Xin gets focused down quickly after the fight starts. When Fiddle ults in, we move out of range and target him when his ult wears off. We then head up to finish off the remaining enemies. I clean up Cat, then swap an instant too late to save Kog'Maw. He ends up getting revenge with his passive and scores an ace. In a previous clip, you've seen me start with the Flash ultimate combo. In this one, I make interesting use of Flash, Corrosive Charge, and an Acid Hunter lock to secure a kill. I get a clutch heal from Pimp 2 to save the day. I've shown Urgot's kiting ability before, but this really highlights how strong it can be. Spamming shield-enhanced Acid Hunters, the enemy can't catch us even with Galio's movement buff. I'd like to give a special thanks to Reginald for being a bro, even if he loses double buffs to neutrals. I'd also like to thank Cyanide for carrying me through the editing process of this tutorial. If you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in-game. Be sure to visit us on the forums, and watch us on the solo mid livestream.